Hey guys, what's up? It is Retro Gamer Gabby, and we are going to be cleaning my Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And this one's a good one because this is one in my personal collection I use quite often. It is my quintessential system. I love it to death. Honestly, when it comes to old retro systems, this by far is my favorite one. Just because it was the first one I ever got to play, and it's also the same system that was out when I was born, so it's just near and dear to my heart. This is the variant that has the sticker on it that says, "Power switch must be off before loading or removing game pack." There is usually a little arm that comes into some of these. This one gives you a sticker, which means I believe the arm is removed. I have another Super Nintendo that doesn't work that has the arm system to it. I'll have to figure out what's wrong with it, but I do have another Super Nintendo that we will probably work on in the future, but this is my working one. So, what you're gonna wanna do, turn her over and take this extension port off and clean that as needed. And we are going to remove some screws. So, 2 up here and 2 down here, so there's a total of 4, but they are the game bit screws, so you have to make sure that you have your game bit screwdrivers handy. Nintendo was notorious after the NES of making their systems a little bit harder to get into, therefore requiring these game bit screwdrivers. There's a smaller variant that you need for Game Boys and other Nintendo games, but these are the 2 most important ones for a lot of these Nintendo systems. So we're going to open this puppy up and we're going to clean this. Okay, once you have the screws removed, you can now turn your system back over and remove the lid. Okay, so this is the inside or the guts of your system. This is your eject port, which is just a bar held in by a spring. Very easy. And the lid of your system holds the dust tray, the buttons, and everything. I'm going to be taking these apart and cleaning these really good. So I'll take apart the lid first, and then we'll move forward with the main motherboard of the system. But you're going to need Phillips head screws for the rest of the internals. They just have that game bit screw just so it makes it harder for you to open up their systems, essentially. The one button has a little spring, so you'll want to make sure you keep tabs on it. I'm going to be putting it with the screws that go to the top portion of this. But you can essentially remove this once the spring and screws are removed. I'm going to carefully remove this so I don't lose it. Alright, I've disassembled the lid and the buttons, and I put the dust lid over here to keep tabs on it. But this is essentially the lid of the system, and as you can tell, she needs a good cleaning. She's pretty dirty. But now that we have the lid taken care of and out of the way, it's now time to move to the motherboard. Alright. You want to know where the spring is, so here's part of where your spring goes, and the other part goes all the way down there, so you want to make sure you remember to put it together that way, because it is kind of a pain in the ass to put this thing together. This is usually the one thing I struggle with on reassembling the system, believe it or not. It can be frustrating, but it's not too terrible. So I'm going to take this off first, and then we'll get to the screws holding in the power switch and holding in the cartridge area and the RF shield and motherboard. Okay, now that I have it disassembled, I guess now is a good time to remind everyone that X Cube trays are a wonderful thing. So these are for the initial game bit screws. These are all that went into the lid. This is the spring for the eject button. This is for the one piece that's here. These 3 were here, here, and there was one more. Obviously there was one more. I think it was back here. Yeah, and then there was one silver screw here and here, and that's what those are. These 2 were from the cartridge area, and I failed to mention these 2 go to the power switch. So now I can start disassembling the RF shielding. taking this apart, and I can remove this safely from the system. I also removed the controller ribbon cable from this very neatly. You can take off part of these plastic pieces, and there's the power light as well, 1991. And here's the bottom of your system. Here is one piece that can be cleaned, along with this piece goes down here, and this piece up here goes up here, obviously, and those are the only two on this system. Okay, so now your bottom is pretty much free, but look at all that dust, man. Gosh. Glad I'm cleaning this. Okay, so here is the motherboard. You can safely disable this and just take it off if you want to. There are some screws down here where I can remove this part here to the motherboard. I think I may do that just for cleaning purposes and just to check out how the this is all for the power unit when you plug it in back here. And this is all your power stuff, your channel 3 or 4 options, your AC adapter, your RF, and the multi for your audio and such. But the motherboard in general looks pretty clean. This is a 95 motherboard, CPU RGB 02. So I think this might be a version 2, maybe? I don't, I'd have to look at all the motherboards, but a 95, this system's a year younger than me. Hilariously, I believe this system started rolling out in 91 or 92, and it went through until, I want to say 96 is when they rolled out the Nintendo 64, so this motherboard's actually the last year before Nintendo 64 rolled out. But I'm going to see if I can remove these screws down here and see if I can actually properly clean this all the way, but look at the variation of this motherboard. It's very cool to see all the capacitors and everything. Not too many bulging ones like the tall ones. There's a few in here for the oh, there's even one right here. Okay, I'll have to keep tabs on that, but I'm gonna try and disassemble this. If I can't, that's okay. I just mainly need to clean these anyways. Okay, so this is what we're left with. I got this removed. Keep tabs on this. This is your power light button, or not button, but your power light little plastic piece. And then here's that RF shielding. So this, you could technically in theory take it off, but I don't need to. I just need to clean inside where the controller port areas are. And then here is the motherboard with all the RF shielding taken off. And I don't know if it's supposed to be missing that capacitor or not, but it does, and it is. I guess it's just the variation of the system. I don't think I could take that off anyways. But yeah, usually this corner on the old systems had like a box, and that's what my other Super Nintendo has, so we'll definitely do some brainstorming on how the older one looks versus this is a newer one. Overall, it's pretty clean. The capacitors look good too. Everything looks to be in standing order. I mean, it's not like it stopped working on me or anything. I just wanted to clean it because it's dusty. But this is the guts of a Super Nintendo. So now, and I've keeping tabs on some of the important stuff. Now I'm going to put all the plastic bits into water. The metal bits stay out and they'll be cleaned with alcohol. Okay. And the way you want to clean all these plastic bits is you're going to want to use, I'm just going to Q-tip clean that. I'm not going to, because I'll lose that. I will for sure lose that. But I'm going to wash this with Dawn dish soap and some hot water, and we're going to douse everything. Also, to keep tabs on your screws on the bottom of the motherboard here when you're removing everything, this one has this silver one with the washer. These 4 all go down here, and this one, which has a double washer, is the one that goes on the side here right next to the RF shielding. And those are the order of where the screws go. So this way everyone can keep tabs on them, or at least for this motherboard, that's what all these screws are. Okay, now that everything has dried out, now you can start putting all of your pieces back together. The first couple things I did was put the metal pieces for the screws to go back in there. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the RF shielding back onto, just like so there. We're going to put it back onto the motherboard and put the screws back in there first. Now that I have the RF shield up here seated everything correctly, and I've placed the motherboard back in, the next thing we're going to do is move that really quick and pretty much match everything up here. There we go. And screw back in this portion of the motherboard to the bottom of the plastic pieces. Alright, now that I have the motherboard fully reassembled back together, power switch and all the screws in their correct areas, I am now going to have fun and put the eject button back together. So this bottom leg has to go down here and this top leg has to stay on top. So I will return once I get this eject button assembled. Alright, now that didn't take me as long as I thought it would to get the eject button back together, and the bottom half of the console is now back together fully. Now I'm going to put the controller portions back together, and I'm going to start putting the lid back together as well. So, I didn't notice this, but when I was reassembling this and trying to put it back into the console, I noticed that it stripped the ribbons here. And I took my time taking it out, so I'm going to guess age was against me. So maybe it's good that I have that donor system after all. I think I'll be using its controller ports instead now. So I will reassemble this almost completely, but I will have to take apart the other one and just put this where the old one was for it and not reassemble it. That's so tragic. I'm so sad about that. Okay, due to the minor inconvenience of what happened to the ribbon cable here, which I'm going to look into it and see if I need to buy a ribbon cable if I can to reconnect it somehow and keep this, because the ports themselves are going to work fine, it's just this cable. So I'm going to look into that. But in the meantime, I do have an extra system that is spare parts, essentially, because it will not work. This was my first Super Nintendo I had. It has yellowed over time, so it was an older variant. As you can see, this is more gray than this. This was also, as you can see, the difference. Here is the power switch must be on before loading or removing game pack because it didn't have an arm to it. This one does, and I can show you the example to that. So let me hit the power button here real quick. There's the arm to it. Whereas this one does not have it. So I'm going to open this up just like before, and we're going to just remove the controller ports to this one and use its controller ports and just put this one in for the time being. Alright, now that I got the screws removed, I wanted to show you the differences on the internals of the systems between an older, closer to original console and newer, pretty close to the end of its time span. And there is the internal differences. Like I said, this was removed later on. If I remember right, it's sound. Yeah. Still has the writing on it. I'll have to take the system apart, which it's due for cleaning anyways, so I'll probably clean this system as well because it's on display anyways for me. So I'll fiddle with this, but yeah, there's some differences over it, but overall it's mainly just that portion is no longer there. Let's see what else. This is the same. This has more RF shielding than this does. Eject button's still in the same areas. On and off switch is good. Yeah, I think once I get more into the guts of it, like here, this is the same on this too. Once I get more to the guts of it, I will, but I'm going to take this apart and transfer it over to this guy. All right, I had a successful way of putting the ribbon cable in because this old one sticks downward and this one just sticks in sideways. So I just had to easily fit the cable in, and it's yellowed a bit because it's the older version, so that's okay. I'll just keep this safe with it for now, but in the meantime, this is just going to be placed here because it can't go back in, unfortunately. I will get the eject button back onto this system. I'll give it a personal cleaning in a little bit, but I want to finish this one first and test it to make sure that the controller ports work. So we're gonna get to the end of this video and I'll fiddle around with this in the future. It won't be right now. All right, moment of truth. I got it hooked up and my controller is in there. So let's see, I didn't mess with the cables at all. They're still connected in the TV the way they have been. This is my system that I use more often than not, retro-wise, so let's see here. Oh, it works. Now let's see how the controller does. A and B buttons are working. Okay, everything seems to be working. Yeah, everything's working right. I'm so happy that that transfer worked great. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video or the cleaning of my Super Nintendo and now also fixing it. I hope you guys enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.